What's up, guys? Power of the Barn here. I am here with game one of the set between Jared and Daniel. Jared has decided to start with Ike, and Daniel has decided to start with Marth. Jared ended up going first. He won the die roll, so we're just going to see how this plays out. I think that this is a matchup that's definitely favored for Marth. Daniel can deploy a May here and really give Jared a hard time. The main issue of this matchup is the fact that Marth has the ability to clear Ike's field, which is problematic for Ike because Ike heavily relies on keeping Micaiah on the board in order to achieve his win condition, which is just a 7-5 Ike with a really big stack. In order to build up that stack, Micaiah needs to stay on the board. And so Daniel is going to be able to keep on clearing Jared's field, but Jared is going to struggle to clear Daniel's field. Daniel is going to be dropping Ninos, he's going to be dropping Mays, high priority deploys, and Jared will likely have to end up going to Aetherite in order to clear them every turn. While he's in Aetherite, he'll be expending bonds, and he'll be missing out on the potential growths that he could be getting from 4-3 Ike. Speaking of the growths you get from 4-3 Ike, Daniel could potentially have a chance to deny Jared those growths as well, because Marth, one of the many reasons why Marth is such a good MC is that Marth has Ellis 2 in his repertoire, I guess. I don't know what the word is. Ellis 2, though, as long as it's on the field, it increases Marth's power by 10. This persists during Marth's opponent's turn as well, so Marth can clash change into a 70 attack, one of his two promotions, ST Marth or Set 4 Marth SR, and drop Ellis. He'll be 80 base, and Ike will be stuck in 70 base, and he'll need flyer supports in order to actually hit Daniel. So there's a lot going in Marth's favor of this matchup. Daniel is also running a Dark Emblem based build, and it doesn't seem that Jared really has any means of countering the discard. So as we can see here, Daniel is going to support a Dark Emblem. He's going to force Jared to discard a card from his hand. Jared's also going to just evade that attack, even though Jared's at 3 orbs. When you're playing against Dark Emblem, it's generally a good idea not to take your orbs. Oh, and that is a very unfortunate Berserk Ike proc. Similar to what ended up happening in the set versus Duck and Haruno, that Berserk Ike is going to result in the destruction of that Micaiah. It's going to set Jared back quite a bit. Now, Daniel doesn't even need to worry about getting a May on board to clear that Micaiah. He can save the Seraphim for perhaps another Micaiah that Jared tries to deploy, anything else. So that's huge. That's very unfortunate for Jared. I was talking about the Dark Emblem. Marth also has natural synergy with Dark Emblems, since Dark Emblems are all 1 costs, and Marth 4-3, I'll pull him up here. Whenever he supports a card for some reason. Here we go, that was weird. Whenever he supports a cost 2 or lower, you can add that card to your hand. It's completely free, you don't need to pay to add that card to your hand. It's why, in my opinion, Marth is the best MC in the game, because he generates advantage at a faster rate than any other MC is capable of doing in the game. There are late game MCs that generate more free advantage than Marth, but either they take too long to do so, or they have strings attached. For example, like Erit. In order to generate free advantage off of Erit consistently, you need to make almost your entire deck white, which is obviously an issue because white is just not a very good color outside of the existence of Erit. So Daniel has boarded Nino, and he's going to be able to draw a ton of cards off of that Nino. Had it not been for that Berserk Ike, Daniel probably would have just been been forced to play May in order to make sure that Micaiah stays off the board. But now he doesn't even need to do that, which is just absolutely huge. So this is one of Marth's many different playstyles. He can opt to play aggressively, or he can attempt to go long using Nino. How the synergy works essentially is that you stack a 1-cost Nino with this card, Nino 4/3, and you grab a Marth dodge from your retreat, put it into your hand. You have Marth attack, Marth supports the Nino 1, and then you flip 1, you get a Mage Emblem, and you get to draw a card off of Nino's Lineage of Magic skill, which lets you flip 1 to draw a card whenever you support a Nino. By doing this, you've effectively given yourself a +2 for 1 bond, as well as a loot, which is super useful. And Nino in general, to Marth, similar to Mei, is a card that, if left unchecked, it will cause the game to spiral out of control. And yeah, Jared is going to opt to go into Aetherite in order to get that Nino off the board. Does not want Daniel to generate lots of advantage off of that Aetherite. Or off of that Nino, my bad. So yeah, Aetherite hits Daniel in the face. Just compare the advantage differentials between Daniel and Jared. Daniel, after drawing a card, has 6 more cards in his hand than Jared. They have the same number of orbs. Jared's field is barely more developed than Daniel's, and Jared is not very close to his win condition. He's going to have to get at least like 2 or 3 more Ikes in his stack before he can reach the point where he'd be considered invincible alongside Ike 7-5. Ideally, he wants even more than that, though. And yeah, Daniel is just going to drop another Nino. He's going to force Jared to stay in Aetherite, essentially. And Jared's just going to have to keep on clearing with Nino with Aetherite. Mei has not even been dropped yet. Delthea could very well be in the works, bring Jared's already diminishing hand size down even lower. That Nino is going to miss thanks to Rebecca. Rebecca is a 60 support in this scenario, since Jared has a stack of 6 with his main character. Surprised Daniel even opts to crit with that with Nino. I don't really view that as too necessary, because Ike's 80 after the Aether boost anyways, so you don't really... So Marth is likely not going to hit Ike, so you don't really lose too much from having Marth just attack Alencia and killing her that way. So yeah, I'm not sure why he decided to crit with Nino there, but I mean, he had another Nino 1 in his hand. He's still very ahead in advantage. I just feel like he kind of threw away a card for no reason. I guess he wanted to make sure... like if Jared had an Alencia dodge in his hand, then he wouldn't be screwed, because he was only able to hit her once. But that's kind of why I feel like you want to attack with your stronger units first, and attack with your weaker units later in this game. So Jared is going to clash change out of Aetherite, go into 4/3 Ike. He has 3 more bonds worth of deployment. Oh, and this is unfortunate for Jared, because not only is Jared going to leap this Nino on board, allow her to generate even more advantage for Daniel, this is also going to open up the opportunity for... And Daniel has ample evades in his hand. There's no chance that Jared is going to be able to get growths off of this 4/3 Ike. Not only that, this brings Jared back down to a 70 base. So if Daniel plays a Mei here, then the Nino is going to be buffed to 70, and the Nino will be able to hit Jared. Looks like he has no interest in even doing that, though. He's just going to go straight for the throat, drop the Delthea overclass, and send Jared's already declining hand into absolute ruin. He ends up hitting a Rebecca off of Delthea, so that's pretty good for Jared. Rebecca is probably the card you want the least in your hand. Basically just bond fodder, really. You want Rebecca in your deck. She isn't doing much of anything in your hand. You run Rebecca almost solely for the support value. That being said, though, you still got a bond, so that's still going to hurt Jared a considerable amount. Jared is brought down to 3 cards in hand. It's starting to look grim for him. I think that his best play right now is just going to go into 7/5 Ike and hope for the best. It'll put him at a stack of 90, hope that Daniel can't break through that defense, but I don't know, though. Daniel has such a big hand. No doubt he has crits for like everything. I'm pretty sure there's just not too much Jared can do this game. I don't know if I would have gone out of Aetherike. I guess Jared just wanted to push closer to his win condition, which is fair. If he stays on Aetherike and he Aethers Veneno, he isn't exactly accomplishing much for himself anyways. It's just unfortunate. It makes you think what could have happened potentially had this Berserkite not screwed Jared over earlier. But in the same vein, oh man, that's an unfortunate self for Jared, because Daniel didn't actually deploy the May this turn like I predicted he might, to buff Veneno. So Nino, that was a 60 into 70, but that untimely self ended up costing Jared an evade, and he could have potentially kept. He dodges with an Ike 7 though, which makes me think that he might not have. No, he has another Ike 7-5 in his hand. He's just gonna hope that Daniel doesn't have dodges. He knows that Daniel has a Nino dodge, but he does have Ira too, so he'll be able to rely on that at the very least. He flips the Ira too. He just wants to clear Daniel's board, get as much pressure off the board as possible. Like, I don't know how much good it's going to do him. Just take a look at how much farther ahead Daniel is in advantage. 6 more cards in hand and 2 orbs, and Jared barely has more of a field than... Oh, what happened to that Micaiah? That was weird. Yeah, they're in voice chat, so they're probably talking to each other right now. So I just didn't know what was going on there. But yeah, he was using Micaiah 1 skill, which is gonna... That's probably what this X is for too, just to mark that the Ike has +10. So even though Ike has a 9 stat, he's actually at 100 attack now. I don't think that 90 and 100 is that big of a difference. Pretty much only really matters if Jared selfs at this point, since I don't believe Daniel has any flyers in this deck. So it looks like the name of the game for Daniel is just going to be to try and crit Jared as much as possible. Oh, and a Delthea overclass comes out. That is almost certainly game. Jared's going to be brought down to a 1-card hand, meaning that he will have at most 1 evade. And it's just going to be a Marth crit and a Delthea crit, and that's all it's going to take to close out this game. Even if Marth and Delthea somehow miss their mark after critting, Nino is 40 because Nino 1 gains +10 whenever another allied mage is deployed. Since he deployed Delthea 1, Nino gets +10, puts her up to 40. And yeah, he's going for the Nino attack. You'll see what I mean here. He gets a 60. 60 times 2 is 100, or 120. So even if this Ike wasn't a self-support, even if it was a 20 support, it still would have hit 120 equals 120, and that's going to be game for Daniel. Just an absolute slaughter for Daniel, and I think that is catastrophic for Jared in the context of this set, because Marth was Jared's best avenue of getting Sirius through in this set. I don't think Sirius can feasibly take games off of Daniel's Ike or Tiki. I just don't think it's going to happen. So yeah, Jared is going to have an uphill battle to climb. I'll see you all for Game 2.